Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American mystery horror film from 2019, titled Room for Rent. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The movie opens in a small settlement, where we're introduced to Joyce Smith, an elderly housewife who's devastated by the sudden death of her husband, Fred, who died in a tragic accident while fixing their roof. Joyce is heartbroken and decides to keep a jar that belonged to Fred as a sentimental reminder of her late husband. She locks it away in a drawer, treasuring the memories. Later, Joyce visits her probate attorney at the bank, hoping to settle Fred's affairs. However, she's dismayed to learn that Fred had taken out a substantial loan, leaving behind only $2,200 in savings and no other assets in his name. This news leaves Joyce feeling disappointed and worried about her financial future. Returning home, Joyce feeds her cat, and then heads to a nearby skate park, where she's unfortunately harassed by a group of teenagers. They taunt her with cruel words, and in a moment of anger, Joyce takes one of their skateboards and tosses it into a nearby dumpster before walking away, feeling frustrated and upset. Joyce visits the library, and while searching for her favorite book collection, she stumbles upon a magazine that catches her attention. The magazine provides guidance on how to transform homes into bed and breakfast establishments. Intrigued, Joyce conducts further research and decides to convert her property into Joyce's bed and breakfast. Her first guests are a young writer, Sarah, and her husband, Edward. Joyce is thrilled to see her business taking off, and prepares a warm welcome, baking cookies, and entering their room unannounced to offer them a treat. However, Edward feels disrespected by Joyce's sudden intrusion, which he perceives as an invasion of their privacy. Despite this, Joyce forms a bond with Sarah, showing her around the town and sharing stories, but Edward is put off by her demeanor. Shortly after, Edward returns from an outing, and announces to Sarah that he has found alternative accommodations and they will be leaving immediately, despite Sarah's objections. They depart promptly, but Joyce and Sarah continue to exchange letters, maintaining a connection. One day, while returning from the store, Joyce encounters the same group of teenagers from the skate park. One of them begins to tease her, and when she stands up for herself, he hits her. Joyce retaliates, becoming more aggressive, and the teenagers flee in fear. A kind stranger comes to her aid, and Joyce breaks down in tears, overwhelmed by the traumatic experience. However, her day takes a positive turn when she receives another letter from Sarah, hinting that she has finally found someone with whom she can connect. Later, at the library, Joyce meets a young man named Bob, who is searching for a house to rent. Joyce offers to show him around her bed and breakfast, and he accepts. Joyce becomes smitten with Bob, going to great lengths to impress him. She prepares special dinners, dresses up for his benefit, and even installs a satellite dish so he can watch his favorite football channel. Her infatuation grows to an unsettling degree, as she begins to enter his room when he's away, using his personal belongings like deodorant and toothbrush. Just as they're enjoying a football game together, the same group of teenagers who had previously harassed Joyce returns, throwing eggs at her windows, assuming she's alone. However, Bob boldly confronts the teenagers, warning them to leave Joyce alone. When one of them refuses to back down, Bob delivers a firm and decisive response, defending Joyce's home and putting an end to the harassment once and for all. Joyce decides to confide in Sarah through a letter, sharing the details of her blossoming relationship with Bob, and how he has been her protector. The next morning, Sarah calls Joyce, who recently divorced Edward, to ask if she can visit, and Joyce welcomes the idea. Sarah arrives shortly, and is taken aback by Joyce's transformed appearance, and the positive changes in her life. As they catch up, Joyce shares more about her experiences with Bob, including a romantic picnic they went on. When Sarah finally meets Bob, she is surprised to find that he is a young man, not the older gentleman she had imagined. Despite understanding that a young man dating an older woman is common, Sarah is still surprised by Joyce's relationship with Bob. Somehow, Sarah finds herself drawn to Bob and tries to get closer to him. One night, Bob returns home with a facial injury from a fight, and Sarah tends to his wounds with an ice pack. As they grow closer, they share a romantic moment, leaving Joyce heartbroken as she watches from a distance. The next morning, Sarah tries to talk to Joyce at the dining table, but Joyce remains silent, hurt by the previous night's events. Out of jealousy, Joyce intentionally spills a glass of juice on the table when she notices Bob gazing at Sarah with a smile. This incident marks the beginning of a rift between Joyce and Sarah, causing their friendship to deteriorate. Seeking insight, Sarah visits Joyce's neighbor, Gladys, who reveals that she had a falling out with Joyce in the past due to Joyce's inconsistent behavior and abandonment issues. Gladys reveals to Sarah that Fred, Joyce's late husband, had forced her to undergo an abortion, with Joyce watching them from a window, and their conversation abruptly ends after Joyce calls Sarah. She becomes furious with Sarah for visiting her neighbor, and demands to know what they discussed. This leads to another rift between the two women, and Sarah leaves before the situation escalates further. In a surprising turn of events, Joyce visits Gladys, and the two share an emotional embrace. Despite their advanced age, Gladys uses a walking stick to move around, likely due to back pain, and has been taken care of by her personal nurse. After helping Gladys lie down on the sofa, Joyce's anger and resentment culminate in a tragic act. She suffocates Gladys with a pillow. Shortly after, paramedics and police arrive at Gladys' home and take away her body. When Bob inquires about the incident, Sarah fabricates a story, telling him that Gladys died peacefully in her sleep, likely the same account she gave to the authorities. After calming Sarah down and offering her a glass of water, Bob asks Joyce about Sarah's whereabouts, and Joyce lies to him by claiming Sarah has returned to her husband, leaving Bob feeling useless. Later, a package arrives for Bob, and Joyce collects it, before taking it to his room. However, Bob catches Joyce snooping through his belongings, leading to a confrontation and a brief argument between them.
I think from now on I'm going to be doing my own sheets.
Later, Joyce visits the doctor, complaining about her insomnia, and the doctor prescribes sleeping pills for her. Back at home, she apologizes to Bob for her earlier behavior and shares a fabricated story about how he reminds her of her son who passed away years ago. Bob accepts the lie but remains cautious, and Joyce decides to prepare a special dinner for both of them, attempting to make amends. Joyce prepares a home-cooked meal for Bob and secretly adds the sleeping pills she obtained from the hospital to his drink. Once Bob falls unconscious, Joyce searches his pockets and finds a key, which she uses to unlock a box in his room. Inside, she discovers a large sum of money and cocaine, suggesting Bob is involved in drug trafficking. Joyce's curiosity gets the better of her, and she sniffs the cocaine, leading to loss of her mind. She makes romantic advances to the unconscious Bob, and eventually takes advantage of him. The next morning, Bob wakes up on the floor, disoriented, and finds Joyce sitting at the dining table, acting as if nothing happened. Shortly after, a mailman arrives with a letter for Bob, which Joyce claims he is not available to receive, so she takes it upon herself to collect it. Bob joins them shortly, and the mailman senses Joyce is hiding something. After reading the letter, which is from Sarah, Bob discovers Joyce's lies and manipulations, revealing the truth about her actions and intentions. Bob confronts Joyce about her lies and manipulations, then collects his belongings, with the intention of leaving. However, Joyce attacks him from behind with a frying pan, striking him multiple times leading to his death. She then reads the rest of Sarah's letter, revealing that Sarah is pregnant. Joyce meticulously cleans up the evidence, buries Bob's remains in the backyard, and disposes of his personal items. With a sinister intention, Joyce invites Sarah to stay with her while she takes a vacation. When Sarah arrives, she inquires about Bob's whereabouts, but Joyce lies to her by claiming he left after receiving a certified letter. Sarah is left sad and unaware of the truth. She also notices a newly planted tree in the backyard, strategically placed by Joyce to conceal her crime. Joyce embarks on her vacation, using Bob's drug money, and is ecstatic about her first trip. After Joyce has departed, Sarah tries to enter Bob's old room but finds it locked. Unbeknownst to her, Joyce has transformed the room into a nursery, complete with a welcoming sign from Grandma, foreshadowing her return after Sarah gives birth, as the movie concludes. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Room for Rent from 2019. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.